Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you my spoiler-free review of the Inheritance Cycle Quartet by Christopher Paolini. As you can see, there are 4 books in the series totally. I've been wanting to read this series for the past 2 to 3 years and finally I picked it up this year and did it fully. There's one suggestion I'll give you guys who are interested in reading the series. It is that you have to binge the series and you cannot leave a lot of time gap in between reading the books because they are huge and they also take a lot of time to read because they are very slow paced. Apart from that, I cannot say that there is much of an issue with this series, and I have an unpopular opinion, which is that I like the series compared to most of the other people here on the internet. So without any further ado, let's get into the review right away. Now the main plot of the series is that we follow our main character named Eragon, who's 16 years old and he is a farm boy. One day what happens is he accidentally finds this huge blue stone in the woods, and that blue stone turns out to be a dragon egg, and out of that hatches this beautiful female dragon named Saphira, and Saphira chooses Eragon to be her rider. The thing about Eragon is that since he's just a farm boy, he does not know anything about dragons, dragon riders, or how to handle dragons as well. After Eragon is chosen to be a rider, he gets to know about all the history about the dragons because the place in which this entire series takes place, Allegatia, was filled with dragons more than a century ago, and as the years passed on, because of various events, there are no more dragons at all except one dragon which has the rider named Galbatorix, who's the king of this entire empire. Since Eragon is the only chosen dragon rider right now except Galbatorix, it is Eragon's responsibility to take Galbatorix down from the throne, and his rule is not at all nice in any way. Apart from this, we also have various different species of characters who are included inside the story, and there's a huge political scheme that is going on from the first book until the last. I can say that more than anything, this series is more political compared to magical, and if you like politically intriguing stories, I'm sure this will be a nice thing for you to read. It is not so political that you will get bored, and it is also not very difficult to understand. So I can say that the plot of the series is pretty solid and it is heavily inspired from the Lord of the Rings. So I'm definitely sure that if you've read the Lord of the Rings and you like it, this one also has the same tone. It is not as great as the Lord of the Rings if you ask me in my personal opinion, but in a low-key way, this is heavily inspired by the Lord of the Rings. But the Dragon Lord of the series adds an entire different flavor for the series as a whole. Talking about the characters, we follow various different characters, of which a few of them are very important for the movement of the story from the first book until the last itself. Of these, our 2 main characters, who are Eragon and Saphira, are most important for the plot as a whole. I cannot say that the dragons in this book are just a fantasy element alone. They play as much part in the plot of the book just as the humans and other races of characters also. One thing which I loved about the dragons in this series is that they are just as intelligent as the humans, if not more. Apart from these 2 main characters who are Eragon and Saphira, we also have Eragon's stepbrother, who's Roran, and his father Garrow. We have this old man named Brom, who's a tale teller in Eragon's village. We have a dwarf named Auric and an elf named Arya. There are 2 other humans who are royalty inside the plot as a whole. They are Azihar and his daughter Nasveda. Since there's a combination of different species of characters, the cultures between different species varies, and the lifestyle that they follow is also quite different from each other. It is just similar to the Lord of the Rings, just as I said before, but the extent to which the author goes deep and explains the customs and culture of each and every species inside the series was very interesting for me to read. It is very slow to read, at the same time very deep, so if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I'm sure that you'll enjoy it as much as I did. Similar to the orcs in the Lord of the Rings, we have the species of characters called Urgals in this one, and the Urgals are very wild and untamed in their nature, and their lifestyle is also very similar to that of the orcs. He goes into detail even explaining the backstory of the Urgals in this one, so we cannot say that they are also completely evil in any way. So as a whole, the character work in this one, as well as the inclusion of the different species of characters and explaining their backstories and their tendencies to us, was really nice in this one. It is very slow, I totally agree with that, but I can say the author has taken a lot of effort in order to present the cultures as such and make us understand the differences in perspective of all the different characters included inside the plot of the story. So I can say that I appreciate that a lot. The world building in this series was the most favorite part of mine if you ask me, because I like the way in which the author presented each and every place that he talked about in detail. It is very detailed. As you can see, the books are very huge in length and they take a huge chunk of time to read, but I can say that that time is all worth for the world building. If you're a person who likes very detailed and descriptive, clear, fantastical worlds, I'm sure you will love the series, because I'm a person like that and I enjoyed each and every part of the world building in the series very much. He talks about various different types of landscapes and the way in which he explains the geography of that landscape, the types of plants that grow there, the food that the people eat there, the kind of clothes that they wear. All those things were very interesting for me to read. They are just a little bit different in each and every place that he talks about, but the amount of difference that he shows there and presents this variety for us inside the single series itself was very nice for me to read, and I enjoyed that very much. The magic in here just follows a very soft magic system, and I can say that I did not like that aspect of the world building that much, because I'm a person who likes hard magic very much. I am okay with soft magic systems also, but the problem with soft magic systems is that we cannot say what will happen when, and most of the time there is not a clear-cut logic for how the magic works in this world, and it is the same here also. And inside the world building itself, I have one most favorite part, because I have not read anything like this in any of the other books that I've read so far. Personally, I like dragons very much, and that's the only reason I picked up the series and read it for this long, and I can say that was completely worth it because the amount of dragon lore that he has put in here is super detailed and very interesting. Okay, I can understand that I'm a bit hyping it up when it comes to the dragon lore, but I think it is completely worth it because the amount of information that he gives about the dragons is very detailed and specific, if you ask me. And he also does not dump it in between the series using infodumps, because if he has done it like that, it will just become even more boring because of the slowness of the series. The places that he chose in order to include the dragon lore and the characters that he used in order to convey the dragon lore to us was a nice choice in my opinion. So because of all these reasons, the world building in the series was my most favorite part. The writing of the author in the series is very decent, and I want to appreciate the author a lot for that one, because he was basically just a teen while he was writing the series, but it does not feel like it was written by a teen in any sense, if you ask me. It is very straightforward, and he does not go on for explaining each and everything using a metaphor or something like that, because with the slowness of the series, if that also was added on to the books, I'm sure this would have been a disaster, but it did not happen like that. The next thing which I liked about the writing in the series is that each and every chapter is very concise and short in length. Since the books are long, the shortness of the chapters made it far easier to read. Next, talking about the one thing which I did not like about the writing of the author is that it was very repetitive at instances. There are multiple scenes during which the author tells us the main character actually shaves using magic. If he had said like 1 or 2 times, it would have been enough, but he kept on repeating it more than 4 or 5 times, so it was very annoying for me to read. At the same time, there is also one huge chapter that is just dedicated for the forging of a weapon, and that chapter runs for 10 to 20 pages. It was very frustrating for me to read. There is an effect that is delivered towards the end of the chapter, but wielding a weapon as a chapter was very annoying for me to read, and it just did not drive me to read the series continuously. Finally, talking about the pacing. Okay, I can say that the pacing of this entire series is very slow. At the same time, the slowness does not waver at any book at all. From the first book to the last, from the first chapter to the last, each and every book is slow in its pace. So if you are a person who likes reading fast-paced stories alone, this is definitely not a series for you, because you will get bored. But if you do like spending time in a series and getting to know all the details about everything that is written in there, this is a great series to just sink your teeth and read. I rated the first book Eragon 3.5 stars, Eldest 4 stars, Brissinger 3.5 stars, and Inheritance, the last book, 4 stars again. As a whole, I can rate the series itself as 4 stars, and I think that if you're okay with all the issues that I talked about in the video, this series is a great one to read. But if you have read like many fantasy books before this one and many fantasy series before this one, I'd not recommend this to you, because it is heavily inspired from the Lord of the Rings and many such stories that came before this one. But if you're a beginner in the fantasy genre and just want to read a very well-built fantasy series, I'd highly recommend you to try this one. It is not as difficult to read as the Lord of the Rings, but it is not very easy to read also. And I definitely did not hate any of these 4 books at all. I liked them more than I thought I would, especially because of the dragons. And yeah, that's it for my review of the Inheritance Cycle Quartet by Christopher Paolini. If you did find this review useful in some way or the other, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.